the NIKKINOO show. I am your host, Nikki, and I have an amazing panel tonight. We've got Abe Won't Be Silent. We've got Jessica Craven and Richard Greene. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hi, Nikki.
Good. You guys ready to talk about the recall?
Yes.
The recall in California.
To save California.
To save California. Now, you all live in California, so you have a lot to lose if Gavin Newsom is recalled.
We all have a lot to lose, though. It's not just California.
Exactly. And we will talk about how if a Republican is put into the governor's place, how that can really kind of escalate to something way worse with the Senate. So let's go ahead and get introductions out of the way here. Abe, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and the platforms people can find you on?
I'm just somebody who is really concerned about California as well as the rest of the United States. I'm a political TikToker, I guess. I'm working on my first film, which is of the same title, Won't Be Silent, which is about speaking up against oppression or injustice and social action. And I'm very concerned about why we're here today, because it feels like we're going south.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Thank you. Thank you for being on, Abe. Okay, Richard Greene, you're up. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So when I was in law school 100 years ago, I was a fellow for the Constitutional Rights Foundation. My job was to go to junior and senior high schools in LA and teach the thing that no one wanted to learn. They still don't want to learn it, and that's civics. So kind of like my friend Bill Nye, the science guy, I've dedicated the last 35 years to helping make civics easy and fun, and to help people understand how incredibly important it is to vote, and that we can pretty much get anything we want in this democracy if we do vote.
Excellent. Richard, excellent. Thank you so much. Jessica. Richard, thank you for being on. Okay, Jessica Craven, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and the platforms that people can find you on.
Okay. Well, thanks, Nikki, for having me. First of all, it's so good to be here with my friends Abe and Richard. We do quite a bit of work together these days. Hi. I am also a political TikToker of late. I can be found at Jess Craven 101 and on TikTok and Instagram. I'm also over on Facebook at Chopwood Carry Water, which is also the name of my daily actions newsletter and my weekly podcast. So what I have been doing since 2016 is just trying to get regular Americans who feel like they don't have a voice or a say in their democracy to get engaged and involved using very small actions that are easy, but actually really make a difference. And so that's who I am, and thrilled to be here today.
Excellent. Thank you, Jessica, for being on. I know you've been one busy lady lately.
So busy.
Lately,
Jessica's basically running the campaign. The governor doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, you need to send him a bill, Jess.
I've considered it a couple of those late nights.
I mean, does he know you exist, Jessica?
I'm sure he doesn't. And he really doesn't. I don't think he needs to. I just want him to run his damn campaign. I just want him not to get recalled. That's all. So
yeah. And a lot of people have asked me, like, what is a recall? And before all of this kind of went down, I wasn't well versed in what a recall was. So I did a little research. And does anybody do any of you want to take this one as to what is a recall and how it was established and put into place?
Let's let the civics dean do it.
Well, listen, a recall is a really good thing in principle. Imagine you elect somebody and they have a 4-year term and they turn out to be, a pedophile, or they're committing horrible crimes, or they're selling, the influence to big corporations, et cetera, or they've just committed some huge, massive crime. Then we want to have an ability, if the legislature will not impeach that governor, for the people to rise up and say, no, we don't want him anymore. What this recall is about is a continuation of Donald Trump and Trumpism's effort to steal elections because they can no longer legitimately win them at the ballot box. So it started with the big lie of what happened in the 2020 election. It's continued with the fake recount, the cyber ninja recount in Arizona, all of the voter suppression laws. And the Republicans in California said, we don't really like Gavin. He's making us wear masks. He's closing down our businesses. COVID isn't real. And this started back when Republicans actually thought COVID was not real. And they said, let's get rid of him. Let's put in someone who's going to let us open our businesses and not have to wear masks. That's really where this one started. So it's completely politically based. Gavin is a fantastic governor, and he deserves to be able to finish out his term.
I agree. Excellent. No, that was way better than what I had down to say. That was perfect. So I didn't know this either, but in California is different from many other states in the fact that they only need, I think it's 12% of the voters from the most recent election in order that they need their signatures is 12% versus many other states that require, I think it's 25%, 24 or 25%.
Yeah, and I just read in an article today that every single governor since that law was passed has been recalled in California, at least has been subject to one recall at least, not successful. But this is actually Gavin Newsom's 5th recall attempt. Yes, it is his 5th. And the only way a governor has won statewide office in this state, in maybe ever, Richard can tell me, is through a recall election when Schwarzenegger won the governorship, only because of the recall of Gray Davis.
No, we had George Deukmejian and Pete Wilson. We have elected Republican governors before demographics changed in California. Now there's no chance for Republicans to win. And Gavin won with 62% of the vote, with over 3 million additional votes over his Republican challenger. But this is a very, very sneaky way for them to get in. And they should actually sit down and say, you know what, how about we actually adopt policies and platforms that the people of California want, but they're not willing to do that.
Today's The Daily, that podcast from the New York Times, was about the recall. And their point is, the biggest takeaway for me, listening to a conversation about it from the Times perspective, is that what really clinched it was the fact that he went to the French Laundry. And because prior to that, they only had 50,000 signatures for the recall. Shortly after he got caught having dinner at French Laundry, 500,000 signatures. So the thing is, in my post today about the recall, I was like, if you're a Democrat and you're like still resentful that he went to the French Laundry, you have to get over that. Because if that's the thing that's stuck in your craw, if you're truly a Democrat, you care about housing, you care about the environment, you can't say you're a Democrat in California and not vote no. It's just it's a total disconnect.
Can I say why I think the French Laundry was particularly devastating for Gavin?
Yeah.
Because Gavin doesn't look like a normal human being. He's incredibly tall and handsome. He's got the slick back hair. He looks very polished, very elitist, not like you or me. It looks like he's out of, Hollywood Central Casting. And so people really don't know Gavin Newsom. I know Gavin Newsom. He's one of the frickin' smartest human beings I've ever met. I mean, the first time I met him years ago, it's like, who is this, empty suit, slick back hair, Hollywood actor, leading man guy. And from the first thing I asked him, he gave me more content and context and historical relevance to my question than I could have known in 5 years of studying. And it's like, holy mackerel. And every time I've spoken to him, the same thing. He really understands government. And we have to remember, he's got more balls than almost any politician in the country. He was the guy to create gay marriage in San Francisco way ahead of everybody else. He had the balls to do that, even officiated with gay weddings. He's that kind of guy, but he looks like an elitist. And when he does an elitist thing, people go, oh, you see, he needs to start telling his backstory and who he really is so people get to know him. And I hope that can happen between now and the 14th.
Yeah, but as Jess says, if he's not actively doing his campaign aggressively enough, then we have to just go with what I think it's all about, the fear of Republicans.
Yep.
Getting in. And when Jess did a TikTok about this, and it was smart, it was all about Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
If we lose Gavin, McConnell is that much closer to running the Senate again. And that is the end of any Democratic idea that you have.
Yep.
Any Democrat that does not vote no, there's just no excuse. No.
This election is really Gavin Newsom versus Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
And if you vote no, you're voting for Gavin Newsom. If you vote yes, you're voting yes to Mitch McConnell and yes to Donald Trump and yes to Trumpism taking hold in our beautiful blue state.
Yep. Oh my gosh. With that, this is a good intro to hit Gavin Newsom's recent polling numbers for the recall. Let's go ahead and take a look at those. I'm kind of bopping around on the page here, but so this is the most recent poll. You can see the 50.6% to keep and to remove is 46.3. Now, this has changed since last week. It was actually a closer margin. So it's starting to kind of come apart and it's getting better for Gavin, which is good. And you can see over to the right, it's 538, which I love that site. And this is an aggregate of all of these 8 different polling places, and you can see the sample numbers there. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to kind of throw up there because it's still close. It's still really close, and Democrats need to get off their keisters and vote. Period. And you cannot be complacent.
Can I just point out that those polls are of likely voters, and so a lot of this has to do with who's really fired up. And right now, the Republicans who want to recall him are super fired up. It's not that. If you polled every voter who was registered in the state, it would be very different numbers. But these are the people who are absolutely committed to turning out and voting, and that is a reassuring poll. But still, yes, we should have more people
absolutely
who are committed to voting.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jess. Thank you. So, it is funny how the recall happened. And there was a little tidbit of information that I don't think a lot of people know is that the recall backers were struggling to get signatures, enough signatures to qualify for the ballot until a judge gave them a 4-month extension because of the pandemic restrictions. And I didn't, what was that? Did somebody just put that up there?
Nope.
No. That's somebody's comment. I don't know.
How is that popping up like that? How do we stop that from happening?
I have no idea.
Wait.
There we go.
Oh no! Wait. Oh.
Okay. Did somebody? Okay. This is not cool. I can't get that up.
There.
Oh my gosh.
Tell people that you're using StreamYard and
I am. Well, I'm using that's never happened before.
Well, actually, can I say something? That happened for a reason. One of the 47 people who are running against Gavin in the recall was just served papers at an event that he hadn't paid his the advertising company. It just shows you the people that are running against him are people like this guy, John Cox, as well as Angeline, who is like a Playboy bunny wannabe. So, whoever wins,
the
Republican
that's
doing it.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
It's Larry Elder though. Larry Elder is going to win if anybody wins, and he is a guy who said that Stephen Miller. He hopes he lives long enough to see Stephen Miller run for president.
Oh God,
Stephen Miller, the architect of Trump's racist, fascist immigration policy, is a protege of Larry Elder. That is all the information anybody should need to run screaming for the ballot box and vote no.
And I'm gonna use this to kind of segue into this here. Larry Elder's polling in comparison to who is on top, and again, probably the most fired up base of voters. But Elders, he's got a pretty far reach over Paffrath. I mean, that's a 13.2% lead, which is pretty vast. It's pretty big. So I think that if Gavin were to be recalled, it looks as though it would be Larry Elder that would take his place, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nikki.
No, please. Go.
No, it is terrifying. And I actually know Larry Elder, and we met 30 years ago. And he's absolutely brilliant. He's a really, really well-trained demagogue. He's had tens of thousands of hours on radio shows and television shows to hone his gaslighting techniques. He is completely full of shit. He thinks he's the smartest human being on the planet. He's very bright, but there's something missing in his soul, in his heart. But he can be very persuasive. But the truth is, and Jess knows this, and we all know this, let's look at what actually happens if Larry Elder becomes governor. I mean, I'll talk about the national, and then Jess, you can take it from there. I mean, we want people to understand that Dianne Feinstein is not a spring chicken. She is 88 years old. We have a zero margin for error to keep the United States Senate. If Larry Elder is elected, and oh, by the way, guess when he becomes governor, right? The recall election is on the September 14th. Mm-hmm. If in fact Gavin loses, if the yes vote, the yes to recall wins, Gavin is immediately no longer governor of the state of California. Immediately, like the hook comes out and boom, you're gone. And Larry Elder is immediately the governor of the state of California until January 2nd, 2023. So that's 15 and a half months. If 88-year-old Dianne Feinstein has a stroke, she dies, she retires, something happens, whatever, and she no longer is able to serve, the governor of the state of California instantly appoints the replacement. If Kevin Paffrath, whether you like him or not, is governor, he has already said he will appoint a Democrat to replace Democrat Dianne Feinstein, keeping the 50-50 balance and keeping Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in charge of the United States Senate. If Larry Elder or any of the other Republicans become governor and something happens to Dianne Feinstein, or, and there's other things that can happen, but immediately, they would appoint a Republican, a Trumpist Republican, who then would go over to Mitch McConnell and shake his hand in the United States Senate and said, good morning or good afternoon, Mr. Majority Leader. And Mitch McConnell immediately becomes the majority leader of the United States Senate. All of the bills, the budget reconciliation bills that the Democrats can pass by themselves, immediately become impossible. The entirety of Joe Biden's agenda gets thrown out the window for the rest of this first 2 years if Larry Elder becomes governor.
Which is why if you're a Democrat and you live in the state of California, the future of this country rests in your hands. And to have that responsibility is nothing I want, that is for sure. But somebody said, this is a question for the civics dean and Jess. Somebody in the comments said that today's the last day to register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes and no. Yes and no. It is the last day to register to vote so that you can vote by mail. If you want to register to vote and receive a vote by mail ballot, register today. But because California is a state that wants to enfranchise people, in other words, wants people to be able to vote, we also have same-day voter registration, which means if you miss that deadline and you're not registered to vote, go to an early voting location or go to a polling place on September 14th, and they will give you, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like a provisional voter registration. You'll fill out a provisional ballot and your vote will be counted.
Excellent. That's good. Excellent. It is so very important. And when I introduced you guys saying that you lived in California, you have a lot to lose. And then showing that the country has a lot to lose if Gavin Newsom is recalled.
Also, we have a huge majority of Democrats in the California Assembly. We have a huge majority of Democrats in the California State Senate. They are every day, they are actively introducing and passing climate change legislation, all sorts of incredible things that you want, that you voted for. Larry Elder, as governor, could veto every single one of those. So not only do we not move forward nationally in Washington, we pretty instantly stop dead in our tracks in California. And I see someone, PAP1715, whatever that is, says, you can't possibly want Chuck Schumer anywhere near America. Yes, I do. Chuck Schumer is awesome, and he's doing things that actually help you. In fact, it was Chuck Schumer who had a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people who are Republicans got that extra $1,400 stimulus check for COVID. So if you don't want what Democrats do, I am hopeful that you have the integrity, Pappy715, whatever it is, to send that check back.
There you go. We'll be waiting, Pappy. Or donate it.
Well, you know, did you see
you can pay Jess with it.
Did you see what happened today in Santa Monica? There was a rally, an anti-mask rally. Of course, those things are cropping up all the time now in California. But a guy that was freaking out on, like, if you Google it, it'll come up. It's on Twitter. And he's threatening civil war. Everybody get your guns. And this is who is going to vote for Larry Elder. So again, if you're a Democrat and you live in California and you think it's okay to be threatened for civil war, then you'll vote yes. But I would say vote no, because you're putting your own life at risk. Your life is at risk because the crazies have come out of the woodwork, and the lunatics are going to start running the asylum. And then it's like the King of Hearts, you know what I mean? Like, it's not good.
Well, you know, the Republicans pulled together to be able to pull off this recall. The Democrats now need to come together to stop it, period. Yeah. We need to rise up like the Republicans have been so good at doing in the past.
And the Democrats are. I mean, I just want to say from an activist standpoint, there was an incredibly large amount of movement in the same communities that flipped the House in 2018 and, you know, helped win the presidency in 2020. It's a lot of people who are not in the press and you don't know their names, but they're working very, very hard. It's just not Gavin Newsom's team. But there are people. I'm running 2 phone banks a week. I've had almost 10,000 postcards come through the hub on my front stoop. People are desperately making calls and doing relational organizing and doing all this stuff. So there was a huge effort to fight this, and I do have a lot of faith in my activist peers that we will win. But it's unfortunate that what will this cost? $275 million. So even if we do win, the state will have lost a colossal amount of money that could have gone to COVID prevention or food for children, or God only knows what, or checks back to Californians.
Jess, can you let people know how to join you on those phone banks if they want?
I actually have that in the description. I have the link in the description. So I was just going to say that, Richard, you read my mind. I wanted to kind of piggyback off that and just say Jess runs phone banks. And if you're looking to try and help in any way you can, go to the description page after we're done. And there are some links in there that I got from Jess. And one of them says, how can I help? If you click on that, then you will have all the information you need to be a part of this movement.
And one of the, sorry.
Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I was just going to say really quickly, one of the, like, a lot of people hear phone banking and they're like, I could never. But one thing everybody can do is just talk to their friends and family who live in California. If you live in, New Hampshire or Alaska, but you have like a cousin who lives in California, you're sending them a text and just saying, hey, I'm sure you know about the recall, but like, did you know that if we lose, there's a good chance that Mitch McConnell will take the Senate back? And, just have you voted? That's going to mean a lot more than them getting a random text message from some volunteer. And the fact is that everybody has a vote by mail ballot. This is the easiest election to vote in you will ever encounter. It came to every registered voter. So that's called relational organizing, just calling or IG DMing or however you reach out to people, your friends, your old college roommate, whatever, and just saying, hey, did you get that ballot back in yet? You can make a difference from your couch. Please do.
If Democrats turn out, we win. If they don't, we won't. And Camian had a great question, which I think we have to address. She says, Camian is one of the people, Camian Jackman. She's a fan of my Hamilton Lecter daily Facebook live show. If this goes south, what's plan B? How do we hit back? Here's the really, really bad news. There is no plan B. There is no, because here's what happens logistically, right? So if Larry Elder, God forbid, wins, and Gavin is recalled and Larry's the number one guy on this long list, or woman, he immediately becomes governor of the state of California until January 2, 2023, when the next governor who is elected in the midterm elections, right, November 3 of next year. So Gavin Newsom was going to be up for re-election for his second term. That's when we elect our governor for the next 4 years. And that governor takes office on January 2, 2023. There is nothing we can do to get rid of Larry Elder unless we put in another recall to try to recall Larry Elder, but that takes a lot of money and a lot of time. It's possible. Or, and this will be fun, right? Not that we're going to be getting anything done. We're not going to be helping homelessness or climate change or getting guns off the streets, et cetera. The state legislature could theoretically try to impeach Larry Elder. So, and that's possible.
But they're not quick solutions, and we really, really don't want it to get there because, God forbid, Dianne Feinstein dies a month after he's signed into office or sworn in. He replaces the senator. That does not get undone in 2022. That's just there.
So I wanted to show you guys a clip of Larry Elder's ex-wife or ex-girlfriend. Well, she went on, and we'll discuss after. This was just a small clip of what she had to say. Let's go ahead and take a look.
And Politico's report that Elder brandished a gun at his ex-fiance.
She says the final straw came during a heated argument that she says ended with Elder pulling out a gun.
He walked over to the drawer and he pulled out his .45 revolver, and he opened the chamber and looked at the chamber to check if all the bullets were in the gun, closed the chamber, and then put it back in the drawer. And he wanted to make sure that this was in my plain view.
Did you think that Larry Elder was going to shoot or kill you?
I did.
And she had gone on to say that he pressured her into having like threesomes, and he like convinced her to get this horrible tramp stamp on her lower back that said Larry's girl or something, like branded her. He was horrible to her. And I mean, obviously she made the decision to stay with him, but this is the kind of person that could possibly be in power if Gavin Newsom is recalled.
Come on, Nikki, that's nowhere near as bad as eating dinner at the French Laundry.
Oh, I know, right?
So can I just say something that I feel like we can all talk about now, which is let's each pick something that he has accomplished that nobody's talking about. Most importantly for me, because the biggest thing on everyone's mind, especially in Los Angeles, is homelessness. And if all the governors that have ever existed in the history of this United States, he's done more for homelessness. He spent more money that he's allocated through the money that came through COVID's money towards buying permanent housing rather than opening up these Band-Aid kind of shelters, which does nothing but just put a little bit of a Band-Aid on the moment of the homeless issue. But ultimately, he tried something that will long range work if it becomes a real priority, which is buying old hotels, buying empty buildings, and turning them into housing for the homeless. And then they start to become part of the society, little by little. But I just think that that's something that nobody really talks about or knows about him. He surely isn't saying it, but I feel like if you care about homelessness and you know that this is something that's a priority for him, whereas you look at the positions on Larry Elder, and the other people that are running up against him, they want to cut funding for housing, cut funding. And they like those shelters. The shelters are a nightmare. It's a breeding ground for drugs and crap and prostitution and pleas.
Yeah, you had sent us, Abe, a whole list of his accomplishments, and I was reading through them today, and holy cow, the guy's done a lot for California.
Jess sent it to me, and I took out the beginning part and just got to the...
Oh, Jess, this was from you. It's fantastic.
All roads lead back to
the Queen of Los Angeles, California.
But let me tell you also, just from a sheer climate perspective, because I'm a climate activist, and I think a lot of people, the youth vote is still kind of wobbling in this election. And I know that young people care about climate. And Gavin Newsom moved California's carbon neutrality deadline up from 2045 to 2035. He is ending fracking by 2024. He has invested huge amounts of money to fight wildfire, drought, and sea level rise. He's creating good paying jobs to clean up abandoned oil wells, which is huge because those still pollute. And that's an environmental justice issue. And he already banned the use of the neurotoxin chlorpyrifos, which is a pesticide that the federal government just banned, but California banned it a year ago because of Gavin Newsom. Every day that stuff was on our crops was literally making babies in utero have a lower IQ when they were born. And he did that on his own. I mean, we can scream and yell about the things he hasn't done, but you try being governor of California. It's hard. This guy has done a phenomenal job.
So Pappy, he's very engaged. That's awesome. No, this is great.
Okay.
Let's have this conversation. Pappy says, ending fracking. You say that like that's good. Jess, do you want to take that, or do you want me to take that one?
You go ahead. I've talked a lot.
No, you can never talk too much. No, Jessica is one of California's great natural resources. Fracking, Pappy, listen, I understand that fracking creates natural gas, which is much better than tar sand oil or regular oil. But do you know how much methane escapes into the environment from our very cool, very nice fracking? We have to get off of all fossil fuels because we're already beyond the tipping point for catastrophic consequences for California and the entire world. We have to stop that completely. And Gavin gets it. And for me, I've known him for a long time. He is one of the smart, I'm telling you, he is one of the most thoughtful, smartest politicians I've ever met and people that I've ever met. If you spent 5 minutes with him, you'd be blown away with how lucky we are to have him as governor.
And can I just say, Pappy and everybody, if you can watch the footage from Hurricane Ida last night, knocking out the electricity of an entire city and all of the fires that have happened in this state, killing and displacing so many people, and not understand that that is our future, all of us, all the time. It is already happening, and all we can do right now is try to mitigate the worst consequences of the way we have been burning fossil fuels for so long. Again, not to echo what Richard just said, but we can do a just transition to other kinds of jobs, but if we don't get off of fossil fuels, our future is New Orleans. Our future is the fires that are burning and have been burning for weeks and weeks and weeks and destroying millions of acres. Do you want that? I mean, honestly, do you?
Well, clearly somebody like this Pappy person either A, doesn't live anywhere near a danger zone, or maybe doesn't even live in California and is just a Trumper who just likes to do this kind of bullshit. So,
right, but guess what, Abe? I don't know Pappy. He does live in a danger zone. We all live in a danger zone. That's not a joke. That's the truth.
No, great soundbite.
And if he doesn't understand that yet, then he just needs to try reading a book, a newspaper, a magazine, anything other than Fox News bites. Because honestly, they're just poisoning your brain, Pappy. Yep. Dude, sorry. This upsets me because I have a child. And we all do have, kids we love, and we're fighting to protect them. This is not about partisanship. This is not about politics. This is not about you winning that soundbite or me winning the soundbite. This is about us surviving as a species.
And look how awesome California's been about electric cars, right? There are more Teslas in California than any place else in the world. Every single mile you drive with a internal combustion engine, you put out 1 pound of carbon dioxide. every single mile.
And that goes away the second Larry Elder is elected, because he's already said he will get rid of that executive order right away.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, California is hurting already with your water. I mean, you're in drought, and you know, Pappy brought up fracking. Fracking, I know from New York State, they had to ban it there because it was polluting the water.
Not to mention the water, absolutely.
And Californians already have such a huge problem with water. Now you're going to pollute it? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And if Larry Elder gets into place and puts, now you're already vanishing water supply at risk, that's not good for California or any other part of the country, for that matter, to set that kind of standard.
Plus, he's done a lot in healthcare. He's taken on big pharma.
You're talking about Gavin.
Gavin, of course, because our Senate doesn't know how to walk and chew gum at the same time. But he kind of harnessed the power of, you know, we're such a strong, dynamic state. I was going to say country, state, that he has more power than like most people in this country in terms of elected office, which is why it's just so mind-boggling that we are even in this situation. But he's been helpful when it comes to, you know, healthcare, the environment, housing. What else do you need? I mean, to me, I'm only talking to Democrats in California. I'm not here to change somebody else's mind. I don't want to change somebody else's mind. I love the freedom of expression and thought. But if you're a Democrat in California and you don't feel a responsibility to some of the things that you're hearing in this conversation, then you know what? And if you care more about what's going on in Afghanistan, by all means, go there, because you should not be living in this state and taking advantage of the good part of this state. And when it comes down to it and you have to vote and you're not good, I can't do it, then you're a fool.
Y'all need to come together and get this done. And I know, Jess, the last time we spoke, I think you are on mute. I don't know if I did that to you.
I am. No, I'm just muting myself.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just saw it. I didn't want you to talk and not be able to. There was, I guess, some confusion with the second question on the ballot. So a lot of people are confused. So some people are like, oh, forget it. I just don't know what to do. So then they won't send it in. Let's go ahead and clarify what is going on with the ballot. I have a sample ballot here that we can look at. Just go ahead and explain that, please.
So the first, there's two sections on the ballot. And the first one is the very straightforward question you can see on the left side of the screen there. I will say that every ballot looks a little different, but this is what this ballot looks like. They're all more or less the same. You'll see the section one is, should Gavin Newsom be recalled? Yes or no? And obviously the most important thing you will do is bubble in with a black or blue pen the no on that. No, Gavin Newsom should not be recalled. So that is the must do part of the ballot. What you do in section 2 does not invalidate what you do in section 1, no matter what. Vote or don't vote in section 2, whatever you do, as long as you bubble in no in section 1, that part will be counted if you mail it in. In section 2, they say, if Gavin Newsom is recalled, who would you like to replace him? And then you have your 46 choices. There are 9 Democrats. There's, I think, 27 Republicans or something like that, and then some independents, libertarians, Green Party. I left it blank, which is what the California Democratic Party and Gavin Newsom are suggesting that we do. Richard and some others feel very strongly that you should fill in Kevin Paffrath. That's fine. You should totally do that. He would be the best, I think, of the 9 that are in there. But even the polling that we just looked at is pretty clear. All I just want people to understand that if we lose in section 1, that means we've lost in section 2. Kevin Paffrath is not going to win. However, absolutely bubble him in, because why not? But I want people to be really clear. We must succeed in stopping the recall in section 1, because our chances of actually getting a Democrat in section 2, they exist. I mean, anything can happen, but it's pretty slim.
So I agree with what you said. I think, quite honestly, it was a strategic mistake for the California Democratic Party and Gavin Newsom to say leave number 2 blank. I think while trying to be less confusing, it became more confusing. The original motivation for that was we don't want someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger of the Democratic Party running against Gavin Newsom. We don't want like an AOC of California running against Gavin Newsom, where people would go, hey, I prefer this backup candidate to Gavin, even though I like Gavin, so I'm going to vote yes, and then have it all turn out very bad and have a Larry Elder get elected. So where we are now is there's no one who's really substantial who's running in the backup second question category, right? So that avoided. So what I am strongly recommending to people is to vote no, right? Because we want to keep Gavin. We want him to be able to finish his term. And by the way, I love the fact that he, shut California down. That was very forward thinking, and that he made people wear masks. Oh my God, what a horrible, horrible thing, right? No, he did the right thing, and we're seeing with Florida and Texas and other places where governors didn't do that people are dying. Gavin Newsom may have saved your life. Seriously, even if you're a Republican.
10,000 lives in California he saved.
In fact, especially if you're a Republican, he may have saved your life or someone in your family.
Yeah, the Republicans don't care about their lives anymore. It's not even a point. I do also want to say that I heard that Larry Elder is starting to get a good Latin community support, and Gavin Newsom was the one that did so much for the immigrant communities that if you are or have a relative that is an immigrant here in California, let's face it, we got plenty of that going on here, that he's the one that pulled back the National Guard when Trump wanted to kind of call him out against the immigrants. He put $25 million in emergency humanitarian assistance. So to me, if you're like an immigrant and you think that a Republican is going to help you, boy, are you misguided. Boy, are you misguided. Just like the Cubans in Miami. Cubans in Miami were misled by somebody who puffed up his chest and made them feel macho. And now, how many Cubans died of COVID now that this man is DeSantis did what he did? It's simple. If we get Larry Elder, California is going to look more like Texas and Florida.
Yes.
If that suits you and you're a Democrat, then move there, because we don't need you here.
I want to address a couple things. So I love your passion, Abe, man.
Freaking out.
Yeah. No, you don't pull any punches. I love that. I just want to say, first of all, if we get 50% turnout, right, that would be a lot. That's even a lot for a regularly scheduled midterm election, right? So if we get like 30, 35%, right, and it looks like Larry Elder is, double the vote total of a Kevin Paffrath, if we actually get Democrats to vote, one of the reasons Larry Elder is ahead of Kevin Paffrath is a friend of mine calls him Packrat. Whatever you want to call him, doesn't matter. It's the Kevin with the name that's kind of hard. And he's actually a really impressive dude, right? With a lot of plans that actually make a lot of sense about homelessness and whatever. But one of the reasons that the Democrats are so low is because the official advice from the California Democratic Party and the governor was don't vote in the second thing. If people started to vote, and if we got, instead of 35% turnout, we got like 45 or 50 or 55, we could absolutely overcome Larry Elder's lead, right? That's that. A big question that I want to answer, because someone on my own page was confused. This is a civics question. They go, so here's the actual ballot. I've been keeping it. I will mail it in, but I've been keeping it as I will keep it as I have never not voted in my entire life except once, which was a California primary in 1986 when my daughter was born on election day. I think that was the excuse. She was actually born 32 minutes after the polls closed. So if you vote no, in other words, I don't want Gavin Newsom to be recalled. I want him to stay governor. There's some people who think, well, that means that therefore you forfeited your right to fill in on part two.
That's not true.
No.
Exactly. So you get two bites of the apple to support good things. The major thing, of course, is vote no on question number one. No to to Mitch McConnell, no to Donald Trump, no to the Republican takeover of California. And then there is no cost. There is no negative consequence of you voting for someone in the second column. We only have 9 Democrats. I personally, having gone through all the candidates, unless you want to vote for an anti-vaxxer spiritual teacher, something, I mean, there's some crazy people on there, that Kevin Paffrath is the most likely person to be the backstop against Republicans and Larry Elder. So I recommend a no vote on question 1 and fill in the box for Kevin Paffrath. Say that 3 times and then you become governor. Kevin Paffrath.
And he shows up at your house with a knife.
How delightful would it be if the Republicans made this whole recall happen and they succeeded at recalling him, but then we got a more progressive Democrat? I would love that. I mean, would be great. But.
And that's another thing that a lot of Democrats like yourselves are saying, that if you don't like Gavin Newsom, still vote no and vote him out in 2022.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So it's 2022, right?
And bear in mind, it's extremely difficult to be the governor of a state. This is a really hard state. And, I've done a lot of phone banking. There are a lot of people who are very angry at Gavin Newsom because of housing, like the housing, the homeless. And it is awful in this state. But what I try to remind them is that is a problem that has been building since the 1980s. Mm-hmm. It is a very difficult to solve problem. And he is trying. But it is you solve homelessness in California. It is, it's very hard. So, give him some time.
Can I tell a personal Larry Elder horror story?
Yes, please.
Why not? Scare us more.
So, no, this goes to kind of who he is and his lack of integrity. So Larry and I knew each other. We almost played tennis once, and we would email occasionally. And I was amused by him. He's a super smart guy, all of that. So he said something on the radio. He had a radio show on KBC here in Los Angeles. And I called in, I spoke to the producer. I said, "Hi, my name's Richard Greene. I'm a friend of Larry's. I'd love to join Larry to address that issue he was just talking about." He goes, "Great, let me ask Larry." He brings me on. We get into kind of a very intense argument on air. And then, he cuts me off, and then he completely mischaracterizes what I said, takes everything I said completely out of context to make him look like he was the right person. I'm listening. I'm furious. I call the producer back and I say, "Excuse me, I need to get back on because Larry Elder is saying things that I didn't say. He's mischaracterizing our conversation. Can I please have an opportunity to clarify?" And he wouldn't let me back on the air. So that's just kind of, this freedom and truth, and let's have an open dialogue about the solutions. No, it's my way or the highway if you're Larry Elder.
Look, he pulled a gun on his fiance. He is the hero of Candace Owens, who, because of her,
and Stephen Miller.
I've been thrown off Twitter because of Candace Owens for the amount of I can't stand what she represents. And he's the same kind of racist Black person against their own. So if you're Black and voting no, not voting no in California, if you're Latino and you're not voting no against the recall to keep Gavin in, if you're a woman that's interested in women's rights and you decide you're not going to vote no to keep Gavin Newsom, I could go on and on. There's no option. Unless you're a fat, white Trump supporter, your only option is to vote no in the recall election.
But if you're a thin white Trump supporter, maybe you do have an option.
The thin ones are just,
they don't exist.
There's too few of them. They won't tip this.
Oh my God, you guys are awful.
So to speak. That was good.
Hate me. I don't care. We need Gavin Newsom to sit tight.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. So I just want to reach out to our audience right now. If you guys have any questions for this amazing panel, please go ahead and ask it now while we're kind of wrapping up here. And also to everyone, Jess had sent me a couple different links that I put in the description. Fantastic information there, how you can help be a part of this. Go check it out. Get signed up with Jessica. Let's make this happen. Let's get Gavin Newsom, just to stay in place, and then we'll worry about 2022. But so any finishing thoughts from you, Jessica? If you could tell the people that are watching right now one last thing before we go.
Just, I guess the only other note about filling out your ballot is just to please make sure that you put it in that envelope and sign and date the outside of the envelope in the red box. That's really important, or your ballot will not be counted. And you don't need to stamp it. We literally could not have made this easier for you. Drop it in your mailbox without a stamp. You can drop it in one of those yellow drop boxes that, I don't know, in LA, they're everywhere. You can go to vote.ca.gov to find out where the closest drop box is. Starting September 4th, there's early voting that'll go straight through. You can go to any voting center in your county and vote there. Like, it couldn't be easier. And honestly, at this point, the stakes could not be higher. So yeah, I mean, it's one bubble. It's one bubble to save your state and maybe your country. Or two. Okay. I'm just saying, for the really lazy who are only willing to do the one thing, just do the one. If you can rouse your pencil arm or your pen arm and do that second one, you should do that too.
Excellent. Thank you, Jessica. All right, Richard, what would you like to tell our audience quick?
Well, everything Jess said, always. And the second thing is, I for people who don't live in California, please don't think that you can't help. Because California has like 12% of the population in the United States. So if you have 100 Instagram fans or 100 Facebook fans, there's a really, really good chance you've got like 12 of them who are in California. And if 50% of those 12 are not going to vote, that means you might be able to be the person to convince those extra 6. Does that make sense? Right? We scale that up. So here's what I'd recommend. If you're in California, do a little picture of you wearing the I voted thing, or a picture of you putting your ballot into the mailbox with, as Jessica said, the prepaid stamp. It costs $0 for you to do that. Do a little video. Hey, I'm voting, no on the recall and for Kevin Paffrath or whatever, but certainly I'm voting no. Or take a picture of you putting it in the mailbox, and that will remind people that who are in California, oh my God. And the peer pressure, we know from lots of studies that peer pressure is the best way to convince people to do things, way more than television advertising or anything like that. So if you're not in California, you could clearly put just a thing to say, hey, California friends, please vote no on the California recall. Your mail, the ballot is in your mailbox or in your home, pick it up, put it in. Please, we in North Carolina, we in Illinois, we in New York are counting on you.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. All right, Abe. Jessica.
Look, I love this state, and I moved here from New York, which is also a great blue state. We must hashtag keep California blue and hashtag no on the CA recall. If you're going to do if you're going to help out the way Richard suggests, make sure people get that we have to keep California blue. I mean, this is the last kind of frontier in America. People come to California to kind of reinvent themselves, to become, put 100 down and buy a car. It's not only for celebrity. It's where people come to remember that, life can have I can have a quality of life. I can live in California. The weather's always lovely. There's opportunity here. There is. If you don't look for it, you're not going to find it. But it's always here. And Gavin Newsom knows that. And he's trying his damnedest to make it available to not only the affluent and the entitled and the ones that are as well-groomed as him, but for the immigrants and for the people that live in areas where the environment is the last thing that they care about, and treat people of color like they don't matter. And he does care. And just because it doesn't look like he cares more probably than your family does about you. And for that reason, you vote no, period.
Excellent. I think everyone, I don't know this is going crazy again, and I don't know what's going on. This is a new page for me.
It's a new destiny.
It is. Well, this is a new thing. I've worked with StreamYard. There it goes. It's going to come off in a minute. But so I'm unable to load any questions now. It's slowed down. You can see what it's doing right now. That should pop off in a minute. But to my panel tonight, you guys were amazing. I think if people watch this in its entirety, what in the world? I'm still... There we go. I swear, I think somebody hacked me. I'm not kidding. I really think somebody hacked me.
No, that was probably me. There's all these little icons, and
can you not press on those, please?
I'm new to this platform. I thought
Richard, like, this isn't the time to play.
Okay, well, we're learning. We're learning.
Okay, I seriously, I was being hacked by you. Okay, great.
No, and I want to thank Puffin for all of his or her comments. And if you ever go to Iceland, make sure to check out the Puffins. That's just. And
let me just say that's really important is that we came together because of TikTok. TikTok is a platform that had its first most important impact on the November 2020 election. And it was even more so in the Georgia election. And we as a community on TikTok are damned if we're not going to have the input to make sure that we keep Gavin Newsom right where he is. Hair blown out and all, whatever.
And I'm telling you, Abe, I love what you said. It may not look like he cares, but he does. He's actually, as I've said before, an incredibly cool, caring, passionate, visionary guy. So,
I agree.
Excellent. Well, I just want to thank all three of you for being on tonight and clarifying so much for so many people. And to the audience out there, now they happen to live in California, but they made it very clear that the whole country has a lot to lose if Gavin Newsom is recalled. So if you are in other states, again, visit the description page of this live, of this stream, and there are many resources there that you can do your part and help and make videos. I make videos about it all the time. Share the videos. If you see it, share videos, do what you can. We've got 2 weeks left until the election, 2 weeks left. So let's do our part collectively across the country and let's get this done.
Yes.
Thanks, Nikki, for inviting me.
And thank you guys. Thank you so much. And to the audience, thank you so much for always being here and supporting. I love you guys, and you guys stay in the green room, and we're going to go ahead and end this. I love y'all, and we'll talk soon.
Are we going to stay in the green room for a minute?
Yeah, stay in the green room for a minute.